This is the Big O Show. This is the Big O Show.
Adam Lichtenstein, kind enough to join us on the show as he has been covering the entire run of these amazing Florida Panthers. Let's bring him aboard. Adam, how are you doing, sir? AB Lichtenstein, by the way, on Twitter. How you doing, my friend?
Doing good. A little sleepy, but can't complain. Got more sleep than the Panthers did, I'm sure.
Yeah, they haven't slept. They've been in the elbow room probably all night long, having some fun. I mean, the video is always amazing and always fun. Dude, I mean, I don't know that the we can go on and talk about the superlatives of this team and everything that is so exceptional. It's what can you add when you see this and you get to cover the way they dominated, the way they're champions, the way they carry themselves, the way they're mature about a lot of these situations. It's insanity how perfect they are, right?
Yeah, like the thing is, it's what really stood out to me, I think, during this playoff run is the Panthers don't always have the most prolific players on the ice. Like, who would you say are the best players in this series? Not the
No,
best players
McDavid
play.
is the best
Yeah,
player, period.
McDavid's the best player in the world. Leon Draisaitl is one of the best, maybe the best goal scorer in the world. The Panthers don't have that guy. Like their leading goal scorer was Sam Reinhart, who had 57 or whatever last year and 30 something this year, which is great, but not that prolific scorer. What stands out to me is their depth, and what Matthew Tkachuk said during the Toronto series is that this team is just built to just grind teams to the nub. And you might get one or two over on them to start the series. Toronto went up 2-0. Edmonton, won the first game, and you might get one or two games on them, but by the end of the series, they're going to drag it out, and you're not going to want to be on the ice anymore by the end of the series. You're going to be exhausted and ground down. And Edmonton, I mean, we saw throughout the series, like able to score in bunches, able to come back and be resilient, come back from a 3-0 deficit, but it didn't feel like that last night. They went down 2-0, 3-0, and it felt over. And that's how it should feel when you're up 3-0 in a game like that with a team as good as the Panthers. But like Edmonton had shown that they could come back from that, but it didn't feel like they could do it last night. They just didn't have it in them. And that's what's probably impressed me the most is that this team, between the depth and the skill and the talent and the physicality, like they just, by the end of a long series, the other team just doesn't really want to be there anymore.
And to go off your point, I was talking about it when I started the show. It's a tsunami of talent that comes at you in one wave after another because each line is just as impactful. And it just doesn't matter, dude. And it's really hard. And it's what you said. You could have that great sniper or two, but if that's what carries your team against this team, you're done. Because, okay, we'll sick Barkov on you like they did on McDavid, and then he'll take McDavid out. And Barkov has no ego. He doesn't need to score to, he's fine. He'll score within the game or whatever, but he understands his assignment. And then everybody else takes it upon them. And if it's Verhaeghe one day, or if it's Reinhardt the other, or if it's Tkachuk, or if it's Bennett or whatever, dude, or defensemen. That's the other thing. This is a team that gets production out of their defensemen in the offensive game, too. It's just, dude, it's a tsunami of offense that comes at you, and
It's
you
crazy.
just don't know where it's coming from.
And you didn't even mention the guys on their third line, which is probably the best line of the playoffs. Anton Lundell, who's like a Barkov clone, basically. Just younger. Anchoring that third line, you bring in Marchand and Luosterainen, who had great playoffs. Had the best plus minuses I think of anyone in the postseason. Like it's crazy depth. Like Gustav Forsling. I saw a tweet last night. After the game, like it felt like he spent half the series on his stomach or something blocking shots, and he looked elite doing it. It's just they're incredibly deep. They're just I mean, they're just a fantastic team. I mean, look, you have to be to win 2 straight titles. There's no weaknesses. Even the fourth line, like Paul Maurice has been giving credit to them for a month and a half now. Like he said, they changed the tenor of the series when they went down 2-0 to Toronto. And you have Jonah Gadjevich, fighting Darnell Nurse and Noshek and Greer. Like this team is just so deep, so talented. Like they all contribute. There's no empty, there's no void when someone's on the ice.
And the crazy part is, and we'll get to it, okay? Because free agency, and everybody's talking about the big three and who's coming back and all that kind of crap. But next year, you're already adding a free agent, and his name is Matthew Tkachuk, because you didn't even see the real Tkachuk play. So, and he was still impactful, and we heard about all the injuries and the recovery, and obviously he was probably playing at 70% or something right there at that moment. Next year, you get a 100% Tkachuk. That becomes even a little more, and I think he's the kind of guy that is going to say, I want to have a really good year after my frustrating year of having all the injuries, not greedy or anything, but just kind of go out there and put on a show. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I Chuck next year is gonna come back a very motivated individual.
Definitely. And it's funny, I looked over at Jordan McPherson from the Herald after Tkachuk scored, and I'm like, he has 8 goals in the playoffs. Like I feel like he's like not, his offense hasn't been there for so many games in the postseason. Like he's able to contribute in other ways. I'm like, he had 8 goals and I think 15 assists. Like that's a pretty good playoffs. And obviously he contributes in other ways, and he's such a key guy in the locker room, team leader. So like you take Matthew Tkachuk at 70% over most players at 100, obviously. But yeah, and like you said, he mentioned, oh yeah, he tore his hip adductor like off the bone, which just, I mean, I tweak my knee and I don't run for a week, like insane stuff.
Dude,
Just
the guy played with, what was a broken clavicle?
Clavicle 2 years ago,
and he scored.
Yeah, he's just like hockey players are just different, but like even among hockey players, he's just like, it's crazy. Like the fact that he played through that, like I said, I tweak my knee and I'm sidelined for a week.
So I am in the free agent conversation. The Bennett one is ridiculous. That's not even that he's back, bro. Give me a break. That's just not even a conversation.
It just seems too perfect, right?
It's just stupid. Let's not get rid. The conversation is Marchand and Ekblad, really. And Ekblad obviously had the benefits of a 20-game suspension. He has been an injury-prone player. Yeah, he's been with you forever and all that good stuff. And you've got a way where Marchand brings to the table and can, if you give him, let's say, a 2-year extension or something, will he be productive for those 2 years because he's up in age and all that kind of stuff? And Ekblad played great defense. There's no doubt about that in this series. Okay, but they've got several defenders, and you picked up a Seth Jones midway through the year. I'm just wondering which way are you going? Because believe it or not, I'm kind of thinking the same way I thought of when X had 10 interceptions. I said, trade him now at that offseason. And they didn't, and they screwed up. When they got to the second title of the Miami Heat with Jimmy Butler, I said, trade him now. You can get 4 or 5 first rounders. They didn't, and they hung on for a few more years, and it became a disaster. For me, I think you have milked the Ekblad run as much as you can. He's been very injury prone, and he's at an older age. I can replace him, I think, if you're Zito.
Yeah.
Sean adds so much more on both ends of the ice also. I know he doesn't add what Ekblad adds on the defensive side, but still, he adds some there too. And then the all Tkachuk kind of factor that he has to him too, and all that, being an instigator. I think he fits so perfect. I would go, if I can afford it, and if he's reasonable, I would go Bennett and Marchand out of the 3. Give me your case.
It all comes down to the money. Obviously, they have $19 million in cap room. a big chunk of that, if they're going to keep Bennett's going to go to him, whether it's 8 or 10, whatever it ends up being. It's going to be a big chunk of it. It all depends on how much money they want. If Ekblad's made a ton of money in his career, he signed a big deal already. If he wants to come back on a team-friendly contract to keep more cap room available, then maybe you can play around with some things. Personally, if the choice for me comes down to Ekblad or Marchand, I lean Ekblad I know Ekblad's had injuries, but so is Marchand, and Marchand's going to be 38 years old. They're so loaded. It's like you don't. I can't say, oh, they need Ekblad or they need Marchand. They've got talent everywhere, so it's like
Great point.
It's a good problem to have. Like you don't need either of them.
Great point.
So like Seth Jones is great Ekblad insurance. Like he could be the number one defensive pairing with Forsling. Maybe there's other free agents that Zito wants to go after. Like who would have thought Nate Schmidt would have been as good as he's been? Who's another guy? He signed a 1-year deal. Do you want to bring him back? He's an older guy, but you want to bring him back? How much does he want? It does the income tax help? I don't know. I lean Ekblad because just because Marchand they're going to be 38. Is he going to want? How much money is he going to want? Does he want a 2 or 3 year deal? He, as great as he was in the postseason, and I cannot say enough about him and the way he played in the playoffs. He was hurt for a good chunk of the year. He wasn't, Brad Marchand of 2015. He was hurt, and how is he going to hold up over an 82 game season the next 2 years? I don't know. And again, I fully recognize, like, if you can bring them both back, excellent, great, do it. Ekblad's a Panther lifer. Marchand was. His addition went better than I think anyone could have possibly hoped. Nope. Dude almost won the Conn Smythe. I have nothing but positive things to say about both of them. If I had to pick, I'd lean Ekblad, but I don't think you need either of them definitively. But if you can bring them both back, you do it. If you can't, then I think if you have to choose, you say thank you, Brad. This has been so much fun. Loved having you. We'll bring you back. Come back in 5 or 10 years for the reunion. Loved having you here.
It's a great point. You really, it's not like gun to head. Oh my God, we have to have them or we're done.
Yeah,
they can go and challenge for the next title, and they now are going for that D word now, dude. Because you get that 3rd championship, you are a dynasty.
Mm-hmm.
That's for sure. You don't have to get it next year. You can get it 2 years from now, but you got to kind of get it within this realm, and we couldn't start talking dynasty until you win that 2nd one now. So that's actually become, and by the way, Pat Riley now comes into the mix, because if you 3-peat, you're going to have to ask him and pay him a little bit of the rights fees and all that kind of stuff. But that now becomes a nice motivating factor when you come back to all of this. It's hard to come back to a 4th Stanley Cup. But if you're looking to be a 3-peater, dude, that's some special company in hockey.
Oh, absolutely. And whether people want to talk about dynasties, like is 2 and 3 years and 3 trips a dynasty? Maybe. I don't care. Like some people can call it that. I'm not gonna be like, no, it's not. Or you could say it's not. And I'm not gonna be like, yes, it's
not for me. You got to have a 3rd championship.
Yeah, that's totally fair.
Lots of teams win 2 titles.
Yeah. What I compare it to though is just at least in South Florida history. I mean, you're in top 3 or 4 all time in sports history.
I got them too. Oh, the Dolphins only get the number 1 spot because they have a perfect season. But if they get to the Stanley Cup next year, they pass the Dolphins, win or lose, because the Dolphins did not go to 4 straight Super Bowls. So they're going to 4 straight Stanley Cups. And if they win it, for me, they're already ahead of the Heat. Personally, for me. Okay. This team is much more dominant than the Heat was. I'm just saying, dude. And it's harder to do what they've done for me than what the Heat have done, in a way. I'm sorry. I just kind of look at it a little differently. I've already got them at number 2. The Dolphins only have that number 1 spot because of the perfect season. That's it, dude.
So, but they're in there. This is, you look at the Mount Rushmore of South Florida sports runs. It's like, the Dolphins, the Heat with the LeBron James and Dwayne Wade Heat, the Hurricanes in whatever, choose your time period.
It was so wide,
Yeah, right, yeah. But choose your time period, whether it's
But
2000, 2002,
but
or whatever. Yeah,
but wait a minute, 83 to 91, Adam. It is 4 titles, so it is a
yeah,
dynasty.
yeah. So
That's a
like
dynasty.
if there's a Mount Rushmore, you pick your top 4. They're on it without a doubt. You could choose. I mean, everyone, different teams mean different things to different people. It depends on how old you are. If you're 17 right now, then this is the best thing ever. If you were 17 in 2011.
And I can't put college football with pro sports because, bro, you get to recruit several first
Yeah,
rounders.
yeah. It's all different, but
I'm gonna just put the pro teams in this ranking because you just can't include college. It's a
that's fair.
separate deal, bro. It's just a separate deal.
Yeah, but this is, I mean, like, this is, as someone who's a Yankees fan, who I was just too young by like 2 years to really enjoy the late '90s, early 2000s run. I got there just too late. I've only seen really them win one World Series. Like, as for a franchise that's supposed to win the World Series every year and doesn't, like, Panthers fans like should just relish every moment of it. Buy all the merch, buy the Sun Sentinel, and all our commemorative stuff. And just enjoy the hell out of it. Put the stuff on the
I gotta
walls.
tell you, dude. I gotta tell you, the problem with your team is what is benefiting the Florida Panthers.
In what way?
Well, I grew up with it, bro. Old man is gone.
Yeah.
George Steinbrenner would not have any of this, bro. He would not accept second place. He would do everything he ever could to win. And that's what Vinny Viola does.
Mm-hmm.
Vinny Viola provides anything and everything. The Steinbrenners, they go only so far the numbers can take them at times. Whereas George Steinbrenner was all about winning. I'll worry about money later or balance everything out with my other businesses or whatever. Steinbrenner didn't give a shit about anything but winning. And their last championship was with Steinbrenner on his deathbed. Okay.
Yeah. We can, without getting too deep into it. There are pros and cons to that. They had a long stretches without winning with under Steinbrenner that people forget.
That's fine, but ultimately they were the Yankees under Steinbrenner.
Mm-hmm.
Under Steinbrenner, dude, I lived it all. I watched them. I watched him hire and fire Billy Martin and fight with him and all that craziness. And yeah, dude, it was wacky. It was unorthodox. It was sometimes dysfunctional. There's no doubt about it. But and I'm not a Yankee fan by any stretch. My dad was, rest in peace, was a Yankee fan. But and I always pick on people that pick on the Yankees because I always say, hey, asshole, they followed the rules. The rules are they can pay people. And so if they allow them, they are willing to pay the tax, then so be it, bro. That's too bad, so sad. That's the way it goes.
Mm-hmm.
The Yankees never broke any rules, ever. They didn't break any rules. They went along with every rule possible. So I don't know. It's just jealousy that people had. But George Steinbrenner is, bro, he's a rare commodity.
Mm-hmm.
He just is. There are certain owners, and you got to love those kind of people. And sometimes they're not like the most sane people in the world, and they don't do everything perfect. Viola does things perfectly. He's super classy. He's super, organized. He's an army guy. It's different. He does it in a different way than George Steinbrenner. But I will ask any Yankee fan. You didn't live it, but I will ask any Yankee fan, will you trade this for that? And they'll trade this for that any day of the year because it was entertaining, it was crazy, but you knew every offseason and every trading deadline, the Yankees were going to do whatever it took to win. And I don't think they do that now. I don't think they go all the way. You know what I'm saying?
We can get into that another time, but you're definitely right. Vinny Viola, I mean, he's you want to point to the turning point for this franchise was when he bought the team. I mean, like I grew up in South Florida, so I remember the Panthers of the 2000s and even the early 2010s.
The Viner teams and all that.
Yeah, like I remember Pavel Bure and Nathan Horton, Ole Jokinen.
Coming out of their pockets like, hey, we got a new, well, I ain't got no money,
Yeah. So I remember where this franchise was, you know, and where they were in the South Florida sports landscape, non-existent. You know, but now they are arguably the best franchise in America. You could argue they're the best franchise in American sports right now.
Well,
Them or
definitely South
maybe the
Florida.
Chiefs. Yeah, definitely South Florida, but you could argue even in the whole country. I mean, who's
I
doing what
gotta
they're
give
doing?
the Chiefs. I gotta
Yeah,
give
yeah,
the
yeah.
Chiefs love right now.
The Chiefs and the Eagles are all, you know, they're up there. But like you can argue like
Only the
right,
Chiefs, not the
yeah.
Eagles. The Eagles need to do more to be where, because the Eagles' other title was a whole different. Now, I will tell you, Howie Roseman might be the best GM there is because he makes the coach and the quarterback interchangeable.
Mm-hmm.
That's some
And
shit right there.
Bill Zito is probably up there too, best GM in the country. I mean,
Yes.
look at where this team was. What was it 4 years ago? Where you win the President's Trophy, but get knocked out of the playoffs, and you have this style of hockey that's fun and enjoyable. You have stars. You have Huberdeau, you have Barkov, you have stars, and it's like, okay, who could have blamed him if he just ran it back and stuck with what was working? And he didn't. He changed up the style entirely, hiring Paul Maurice to play this defensive playoff style of hockey. And like, it's hard to think of now, but 3 years ago, I remember it wasn't popular. They snuck into the playoffs in 2023. They barely made it. And they should have lost to Boston in that first round, and who knows where they are if Brad Marchand beats Bobrovsky on that breakaway. Who knows where this franchise is right now? But the fact that Zito had the courage to change things up entirely, and Paul Maurice jokes about it, saying I turned a 120-point team into a 90-point team. But it's worked. Unlike, you know, it works in the playoffs. They got to the final in 23. They win it the last two, you know, these past 2 years. Like, I mean, if you're a Panther fan, just drink it and just enjoy every second of it.
Amen. Amen. All right. What do you got going on the Sentinel so folks can check you out and subscribe?
Yeah. Broke the news. Got to break the news last night. Going to toot my own horn a little bit about the parade scheduled for Sunday. I will be there. Hopefully, no rain this year. I have a lightning phobia, so I would prefer no lightning. I
Wait. You live in South Florida
I
and you've got
know.
lightning phobia.
I know. It all stems actually from a day I was working. I was working at a high school game, and I was sitting alone in the high school football stadium press box, and you had the lightning where it's like the flash and immediate thunder, and I thought for sure I was gonna die in that press box or something, or on those bleachers. But yeah, so like last year, I dipped off the meteorizer when the lightning started, and I went and hid basically. But yeah, so hopefully none of that this year. Working on stuff, gonna be here all week. May even do some Club World Cup stuff. We'll see what happens. And yeah, got some stories coming out later today. We've got a bunch of coverage up online. We have people at the Elbow Room this morning, reporters at the Elbow Room, covering the celebrations. I got to sleep in this morning because I was, up late last night. And yeah,
That's where Bill Lindsay's going after he finishes this interview with us next. He's going to go to the Elbow Room to go
yeah.
party.
It looks like a ton of fun. And like I said, Panthers fans, if you're go to the Elbow Room, if you see events happening, autograph signings, like that was honestly the coolest thing I've ever covered in my career was last year's Stanley Cup. Winning the Stanley Cup, getting to the week-long celebration that culminated in the parade. It was just the coolest thing. I'm excited to see where things go this year, see where the cup ends up this year. I'm really hoping Brad Marchand eats a blizzard out of the cup. It should just be like, just everyone should just enjoy it. It's so cool. Like, I'm rambling now, but I mentioned on Twitter and I think Blue Sky like a week or two ago that I used to be like skeptical and critical of bandwagon fans. Like, oh, whatever, I get the typical attitude, like, whatever. I fully embrace, be a bandwagon fan, have fun. Not everyone devotes their lives to sports like we do. If you're a guy, if you're somebody who just enjoys having a good time, jump on the bandwagon, have fun. It's a blast.
Dude, I'm a born and raised South Floridian, born in Belglade, Florida, raised in Miami and Hialeah and everything, and now in Kendall. I know this town inside and out. We're just smart consumers. And if you don't dedicate yourself to trying to win, okay, people won't connect with you in this town. But if you try, which is what Viola's done from day one, he has proven he is truly committed. And then Panther fans have just gotten on the bandwagon slowly but surely. And that's why it's gotten that way. Nobody knew anything about basketball, bro. Nobody. When I was a kid, we brought over the Sixers and the Nets as an exhibition game to see if basketball would work. And then it took Pat Riley and Mickey, because the first ownership group wasn't strong, wasn't committed to it. Just like Viner and guys, Viner's group had their hearts in the right places, but they didn't have the money. And so it just kind of, it takes both. And in this town, your entertainment dollar is so stretched because you can do so many different things that if you don't entertain us, at least, we're not asking you to win the title, but if you don't at least try, like the Dolphins, they don't win shit, but they constantly try.
Yeah.
Do all the
Absolutely.
wrong things, but they're spending money, bro. They're trying.
And you look at the Marlins, and it doesn't seem like they try, and that's why nobody cares. Nobody goes.
And they're not going to ever connect with us because they don't try. And that's what it. And once you have broken through, that you have proven you are going to be committed to it, the Panthers now will win the fan base forever now, and they will survive mediocre, bad seasons or average seasons, because now they believe in Viola, and they believe in Sifu, and they believe in Zito and stuff. So you can have a down moment like the Heat have had and all that, and they'll stick with you.
Mm-hmm.
But
Absolutely.
Prove, dude, that you're committed. All right, I gotta go. I appreciate you, bro. Follow him on Twitter, AB Lichtenstein. Appreciate you, my brother. You be good out there.
Thank you. You too. Have fun this week.
You got it, man. Thank you. There you go.